This is going to be the first country to disappear from the map. Imagine waking up one day and realizing your homeland, your home, your memories, even your identity as a citizen, all of it gone under the ocean. People living here will soon be left with no homes, no land, no physical country at all. The government has already begun scanning every single part of the nation: houses, schools, trees, plants, rocks, and even the tiniest landmarks, turning the land into a 3D model. Why? Because they believe the only way for their country to survive is not on Earth, but in the digital world. The country is Tuvalu, a tiny island nation in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. With only about 11,000 people, it is so small that most of the world has barely heard of it. But this little-known nation is about to become one of history's most heartbreaking examples. Tuvalu could soon be the first country where every single citizen will have to leave their homeland forever. Their leaders have cried out to the world with a simple truth: we are sinking, and the only reason is climate change. Climate change is not just a distant threat anymore. For Tuvalu, it is an immediate death sentence. To understand why, you have to see where Tuvalu sits and how it is made. It is a cluster of 9 islands in the South Pacific, 6 of which are atolls, land formed when ancient volcanoes sank beneath the ocean and coral reefs rose in their place. Atolls are beautiful but fragile. They are rings of land surrounding shallow lagoons, often only a few meters above sea level. Unlike mountainous islands, atolls lie flat, exposed, and helpless against the waves. That is why Tuvalu, like the Maldives, is one of the lowest-lying countries in the entire world. Its average elevation is just 2 meters above sea level. The highest point in the entire country is only 4.6 meters high. To put that into perspective, a small wave or storm can already flood entire villages. Look at their capital island. Funafuti, it is so narrow and long that half of it is taken up by a single airport runway. A country this fragile has no defense when the seas rise, and rise they have. According to NASA, between 1993 and 2023, the sea level around Tuvalu rose by 15 centimeters, 1.5 times faster than the global average. By 2050, the water could rise another 20 to 30 centimeters. By 2100, over a full meter. For a country whose highest point is barely 5 meters, that is catastrophic. At present, Tuvalu floods about 5 days each year. By 2050, it could flood 25 days a year. By 2100, 100 days out of 365 will be underwater. Funafuti, where 60% of the people live, is expected to be half submerged. 95% of the entire country could be gone by the end of the century. Some may shrug this off as the distant future, but 2050 is just 25 years away. Many of us alive today will see Tuvalu disappear in our lifetimes. Climate change is no longer something for future generations. It is already tearing countries apart. The government of Tuvalu knows this and has been fighting back. They are building protective seawalls and creating artificial land by reclaiming areas from the ocean, similar to how Dubai built its famous man-made islands. By 2024, they had added about 19 acres of artificial land, designed to last until 2100, but the problem is money. Tuvalu is one of the poorest nations on Earth. It does not have the thriving tourism industry of the Maldives or the resources of rich nations. Most of its revenue comes from foreign aid. Building walls against the ocean may buy them time, but it is a gamble that cannot last forever. And so they came up with a radical plan B: migration. In 2022, Tuvalu signed the Gallipoli Union Treaty with Australia. This treaty gives Tuvalu citizens something that no other country has ever had: a climate visa. Every year, 280 Tuvaluans will be given permanent residency in Australia, complete with healthcare, housing, and job opportunities. Already, over 8,700 people, 82% of the population, have applied. But since only 280 are chosen each year, the process is done by lottery. Think about that: the future of your family decided by random chance. If Australia continues this policy, It could take 40 years for every citizen to relocate. But even if the people move, Tuvalu refuses to let its country die. They have declared themselves a virtual nation. They are scanning every tree, every house, every dance, every story of their ancestors into digital forms that Tuvalu can live on in the cloud. Citizens will have digital passports, online elections, and a government that exists virtually, even if their land sinks. Their message to the world is simple: our land, our ocean, our culture are the most precious assets of our people. To keep them safe from harm, we'll move them to the cloud. Before we go further, I want you to pause for a second. Imagine losing your own home, your city, your entire country forever. Tuvalu's story is not just their tragedy, it is a warning for all of us. If you care about stories like this and want to understand the truth behind global issues that no one talks about, then make sure to subscribe right now, because the next part of this story is going to shock you even more. Tuvalu's fight is not just about survival, it is about identity. A nation without land, can it still exist? According to international law, to be recognized as a country, you need both defined territory and a permanent population. Tuvalu risks losing both. That is why they have appealed to the United Nations to create a treaty for nations disappearing due to sea level rise. They want their maritime boundaries permanently recognized so that even if Tuvalu is underwater, no other country can claim its waters or its identity. They have even amended their constitution to declare themselves a virtual state, ensuring Tuvalu remains a sovereign nation in digital form, no matter what happens in the physical world. But how did this come to be? The cruel irony is that Tuvalu contributed almost nothing to climate change. Their carbon footprint is negligible, yet they are the ones paying the ultimate price. The biggest polluters are the industrial giants America, China, India, Germany, France. Just 20 nations in the G20 are responsible for 80% of global emissions. Meanwhile, small island nations like Tuvalu, who did not create the problem, are drowning because of it. Even Australia, Tuvalu's greatest ally, is part of the problem. While it contributes only about 1% of direct global emissions, Australia exports massive amounts of coal and gas to other countries. Counting these, its contribution jumps to 4.5%. Tuvalu's prime minister has called this expansion of fossil fuels a death sentence. For Tuvalu, every ton of coal burned somewhere else in the world brings them closer to extinction. So why does Australia help them? Part of it is compassion. They want to protect their neighbors. But there are also strategic reasons. Australia signed the Gallipoli Treaty not only to offer climate visas, but also to ensure Tuvalu does not fall under Chinese influence. China has been trying to expand its reach in the Pacific, offering deals and partnerships. Tuvalu is one of the very few countries in the world that still recognizes Taiwan instead of China. Australia fears that if Tuvalu switches sides, China will gain more control in the Pacific. So by signing this treaty, Australia secured veto power over Tuvalu's defense agreements, keeping China out. Climate change may be the tragedy here, but geopolitics is shaping the solutions, and Tuvalu is not alone. Other low-lying nations like Kiribati, Nauru, and the Marshall Islands face the same fate. Kiribati has already bought land in Fiji to relocate its citizens when the seas rise. The Maldives once considered buying land in India, Sri Lanka, or even Australia. Some countries like Fiji and the Solomon Islands are planting mangroves along their coasts to block erosion and reduce wave height by up to 2/3. Others are restoring coral reefs, which act as natural barriers. But these solutions only buy time. Without drastic global action, the seas will keep rising. The truth is, Tuvalu is just the beginning. By 2050, nearly 800 million people worldwide could be at risk from rising sea levels. Cities like Mumbai, Kolkata, and Dhaka face catastrophic floods. Entire neighborhoods could disappear. The global economic cost could reach $1 trillion. And when that happens, it will not just be small island nations begging for survival. It will be the world's largest cities and millions of ordinary people. We cannot afford to treat climate change as a problem of tomorrow. The melting ice caps, the floods, the droughts, the wildfires, these are already here. The only solution is to move away from coal, oil, and gas and embrace renewable energy before it is too late. The world has solved crises before the ozone hole. For example, humanity came together, banned harmful chemicals, and the ozone began to heal. We proved it is possible. We can do it again, but will we? That is the question, because every year of inaction is another nail in Tuvalu's coffin and another step toward disaster for all of us. Tuvalu's story is more than just a heartbreaking tragedy, it is a warning bell. It is a glimpse of our own future. We do not act. Now I want to ask you something. If your country was sinking, if your home was being swallowed by the ocean, what would you do? Would you fight for it or would you leave? Comment below and share your thoughts, because Tuvalu's story might one day be your story too.